I cannot tell you how many times I've got a request to do this video. I'm an English literature student at Oxford, currently studying for my master's, and I have used an iPad the whole way through. And in today's video, I thought I would show you exactly how I use it to study and also assess whether I think it's worth buying as a student, because obviously iPads are expensive, they are an investment. For this year specifically, I've actually mainly used my iPad to study. Every single time I've been out of the house, when I've been in libraries, when I've been in cafes, it's always my iPad that I keep with me. This is different from when I was doing my undergraduate and I would mainly rely on my laptop. I love that it serves the dual function of being able to write on it as a tablet, but also type on it as a computer. And the two things that let me do that, the two accessories that I use with my iPad are these. Both of these are Apple products. This is the Apple Pencil 2nd generation. This is the Magic Keyboard. It's very sturdy, types really well. It doesn't feel like an iPad keyboard, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes they can feel quite flimsy. This is nice to type on and it feels like I'm typing on a laptop. So all you do is magnetically put it on there, and then as you can see, it literally does look like a laptop. Honestly, versatility and ease are the two most important things when you're looking to buy anything. It's never played up on me. It just makes work easy. The true definition of something being a luxury is when it provides ease, when it makes something easier, when you don't have to think about it. And in that sense, I would say that this iPad is hugely a luxury item. I can easily put this in my bag. It's portable, it's lightweight. As I say, it has a dual function. I can also easily sync files between this and my main computer, and I can easily switch between using it as a tablet and as a computer. Okay, so then there are 7 ways that I use my iPad to study, and I'm just gonna go through these one by one. So I do mostly use my iPad as a computer. I will use it to type notes. I usually pretty much always have this attached to it, the keyboard, and I would just use it in the same way you'd use a computer. So I use it to type up my notes or work on an essay. But there are a few things which are distinctive to the iPad that I specifically make use of the features when studying. Okay, so first thing of course is using it as a tablet, where the trusted Apple Pencil comes in. I really love that you're able to obviously write on the tablet. However, the main thing I use the Apple Pencil for is annotating. So I will download articles in PDF form, I will transfer them to the Files app. I literally just use the free Files app, which comes already with the iPad, and then I will annotate it. This is so great for saving paper, because sometimes you want the feeling of annotating but you don't want to print out a 30-page article because that's terrible for the planet. It's also great because you can again sync it between devices, so I will put it in iCloud and then I can access it on any of my devices, including my phone. This is Google Drive on my phone, for example. I can easily sync between them. Similarly, I like to use it for annotating poems or manuscripts. So I might take a picture of a manuscript and then I might annotate it on my iPad. And again, this just saves me from printing loads of things, but also helps me to organize everything in a digital space as opposed to having to rely on physical files. Now, I don't have lectures anymore because I'm a master's student, and so I only had seminars and tutorials this year. But when I was at undergrad, I would actually use my iPad to watch lectures because I did my degree during COVID, so we didn't have physical lectures. We had them all online, at least for 2 years of my degree. So my housemate and I would actually put the lecture on my iPad, and then we would take notes on our computers. So we used it as a second screen. I also use the half screen feature a lot on this iPad. I really like how you can split your screen and have one app on one side, one app on the other side. I like to put up a video that I'm taking notes on, for example, and then I can have Notion up and write that on the other side. I also use the half screen feature when I'm taking notes, so I might have a reading up on one side, like an essay, and then my Notion app on the other side where I'm taking my notes. So you can use the iPad to take notes by hand on GoodNotes. I don't tend to use that personally and do that personally. I used to do it at undergrad, but not so much now. Sometimes we'll use it to take notes, very occasionally, especially when I have images that I want to use, because it's really easy to drag images into a GoodNotes document and then you can annotate them in the app, which I think is so useful. I also love the sticky notes feature. Honestly, the notes end up looking so beautifully aesthetic, but I do find it can be quite time consuming, so I don't tend to use that as my prime form of note taking. It's maybe good for the one-off thing, but maybe just because I'm not very used to it, it takes me such a long time, and I feel like I could get double as much done in the time if I'm typing instead of like handwriting in a digital note space. Number 5 though, I might however annotate diagrams or like a painting and annotate that on my iPad using the Apple Pencil and then transfer that into my main notes in Notion. Again, just such a great tool for annotating. Number 6, honestly, the main app, no, I'm not going to say the main app, but one of the apps that I use a lot is the Notes app. The Notes app, which again just comes with all Apple products, like all iOS products. I love that you can scan documents and make your own PDF files of the scans. So in early modern England, when you were talking about bookbinding, when you were talking about different kinds of book, when many texts are bound together in one single book, it's called a sammelband. So you might have a load of poetry and then that might be followed by short stories, which actually is very atypical for early modern England, but you get what I'm saying. Like a few kind of slightly miscellaneous texts will all be bound together when a book is brought to the bookbinder to be bound. And when you're using the Notes app to create a PDF document, it's like you're creating your own little sammelband. That's how I like to think of it. So you can collate loads of research and like pages of different documents that are useful for a particular project, and you can make your own like mini textbook, mini sammelbound book of everything which is really, really important to your research, to your project, and have it just all in one place. I love doing this so much. The one thing I will say though, when you're doing this, make a note of the book you took it from. Just make a note of it, because otherwise you might come to citing something and realise that you do not have the name of the book and you go on a wild goose chase trying to find where you found that particular page from. And 7th thing, that I love to use the iBooks, Files app or GoodNotes to use the digital versions of the planners that I design on Pumpkin Productivity, because they are the planners that I use when planning by hand, and it's nice to have the digital versions so that I can use them when I'm on the go and I don't have like the physical product with me. Sorry for the plug, but all of the digital planners are available on the website as well, so if you don't like physical planning, then you can take a look at the digital planners on our shop.
Okay, so then next I'm going to give you a tour of my iPad.
Whilst doing the tour, I'm also going to show you my favourite apps for students and the ones that I would recommend. So this here is the main homepage. You can kind of see it in the background. I'm just going to drag this app so I can actually show you my screensaver. This is my 2024 mood board, and I just made it my screensaver because I thought it would be motivating. So I've got Rory Gilmore right in the middle because I really got into Gilmore Girls this year. So if we go to the first page here, as you can see there are a few widgets. I just wanted to customize it and make it look aesthetic. So I've got this image. I would put the name of the artist on the screen as well, and then I've got this widget clock, which is quite nice, not very useful at all. It serves no useful function because obviously there is a little part in the corner which tells me the time and the date, but it looks nice. That is purely for aesthetic purposes. An Emily Dickinson quote. This app here where it says vindictive, this is a vocabulary app and it gives you a new word every day, and I like how on my homepage it flicks between different words, so I get to see a new word. This app is fantastic and I love this, and also there's a facts one that I have on my phone. I love them because you kind of get the same motion and feeling of like swiping through TikTok or social media, but you're learning things at the same time. So I try and turn to like the vocab app and the fact app if I have like an urge to go on my phone and scroll, but I also want to be doing something where I'm learning and enriching my brain. So that's one of my favourite apps. I've also got this mini to-do list on the side here. I don't tend to use this widget because my to-do list is mainly on Notion, but I do have that. Then the clock app. Okay, I am actually going to go in and focus on this just because I find it, like, I use the clock app so much while studying and I want to tell you how I use it. Honestly, such a standard thing, but I use the timer app on the clock app so much. It's so easy and it's a great way to make sure that you're not spending too much time on a task. Parkinson's law says that a task will elongate to fit the length of time that you assign it. So if you set yourself a set time that you have to complete a task, but then you're more likely to complete it within that time. So I love using timers. Another good one for timing is the Forest app, which I don't have on my iPad anymore, but I used to use that. I just prefer the simplicity of the clock app, honestly. So then here on the next page, this is my productivity page. I also have kept my apps very minimal. I used to have more apps on my iPad, but honestly less is more, I think, and there's no point clogging up the device with loads of things that you're not actually going to use. I do have a few apps which are related to writing because I also try to write every day. So Scrivener is the app that I use for writing. It syncs between my computer and my iPad. And I've also got this app Write Only, which works like a typewriter, so you can't do backspaces, and it's a great way for free writing without any distractions. I also have all of the Google Drive apps on here, so Drive, Slides and Docs, because I tend to write all of my essays on Google Docs. I like doing this because it syncs very easily between devices. I trust Google to not like lose the file much more than my computer. If it's saved locally to a device, I'm scared that it's going to get lost. And I've used Google Drive the whole way through my time at school, like literally since I was in year 10. What other apps? Okay, Minimalist. This is the list app that appears on the widget. I've got GoodNotes, and as you can see on GoodNotes, I have downloaded different like products from Pumpkin Productivity. So I've got the 2023 yearly planner here. I'm actually still using the 2023 on here. So I'll just like get my Apple Pencil and write like film iPad video. And it's nice to be able to have the planner on my iPad so that I don't have to bring out my physical planner when I'm studying if I don't want to. Next here I've got the Kindle app. I love using the Kindle app to read set texts. So I study English literature, I read a lot of books as part of that obviously, and a lot of the books that I will read because I do Renaissance literature is in the public domain, so you can get these books very cheap on Amazon Kindle. I will just send them over to the tablet. They're like usually under £1 if not free. And then what I really love, if I click on Tragedy of Miriam, is that I can go through and add highlights and read it on here and add comments, which then will sync with my computer. I've got to say, it's not the most intuitive app. I think it works much better on desktop, but it is still useful. Like, it can be a bit clunky, it's not as easy to use as when you're doing it on a computer, but it still does work well. So long as you're not taking notes on every single line, I think it's fine. There's the Flip Clock app. I use Books and Files, which is just here. Okay, Freeform. This is just like a drawing app, and it's like GoodNotes or Notability, but it's completely free. So if you wanted just a quick thing for like taking notes, this is a good option. I've got ChatGPT, which AI definitely is something that we can use to help with our studies, and lots of people are using it in really cool, interesting ways. I was really experimenting with it and playing around with it last year, but recently I've kind of just like forgot that it exists. I might start using this again more, but I haven't used it for a while. I've also got Gmail and Outlook. Outlook is what we use for university emails. I've also got Zoom, and I've got Quizlet on here, which I was using when, again, it's coming up with cookies. I was using Quizlet for learning key facts about bibliography and book history. So this is a set that I made where I use this to memorize the key terminology when talking about book histories, like collation formula, an abbreviated form for recording the number, order and arrangement of leaves and gatherings in a book. Language is one of those things, like you can't, like, it's important and it's necessary to know the vocabulary and the language, because otherwise you can't talk about it fully. And I love Quizlet for learning new vocab and key terms. Okay, Lola, tell me, what is diplomatic transcription? She didn't get it. I've got To-Do, which is another to-do list app, which I actually pay a subscription for. This is £2 a month. It's just a very simple and aesthetic web design. However, it's much better on desktop. I've only got it on here because I use it on my desktop and I want it to be able to sync. Okay, so now on to the next page. This is all related to photo and video editing, so I'm not going to linger on this so much because obviously this video is related to studying. 3 Adobe apps. I've got Photoshop, Lightroom and Adobe Express. Oh, I went through my iPad yesterday and I think I accidentally deleted Adobe Illustrator because that was on here yesterday. Oops. Okay, anyway, I've also got Procreate, which is good for doing animations and drawings. I've got Pinterest, of course, I love Pinterest. Who doesn't love Pinterest? It's very addictive. I've also got the app of Final Cut. I've got Canva, which is what I use for editing thumbnails. Visco, which I use for editing Instagram photos. CapCut, which is for short form editing, PicMonkey, and then Storygraph, which is what I use to track all of the books I read. I recently moved from Goodreads to Storygraph, so do follow me on Storygraph if you want to see what I'm reading. And then here we are, final page. This is more entertainment. Why have I got Pinterest twice? That's so weird. YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus, and Audible. And then New York Times, this like crossword. It's a crossword app. I completely forgot to show you the apps that are on my dashboard, like the ones I use the most often.
I've somehow waited this long till right at the end to tell you about my absolute favourite app that I use the most, which is Notion. So Notion is essentially a database, library, a universe, and it's where I keep all of my university notes and everything to do with planning. So it is the main app that I use. But you can use Notion on desktop and your computer, and then also on tablets and iOS. So of course I've got Notion downloaded on my phone and my iPad so that I can easily look at the information wherever I might be. This video isn't sponsored, by the way. I just love Notion. I've done a whole video on how I organize my life with Notion, so I'll leave that link down below if you're interested. This is like the go-to app that I use when I'm on my iPad. Of course, one of my essential apps that I use so much when studying is Spotify. I have a few playlists that I recycle. So I've got one which is Ruby Granger's favorite study music. There's also a playlist that we have for pumpkin productivity, which has got kind of relaxed, chilled music, which you can use in the background when studying. Sometimes I will just listen to rain noises or background noise on Spotify too. Oh, and at the moment, my favorite thing to listen to is the Alice in Wonderland soundtrack. I would highly recommend.
Next, for accessories, there are 3 accessories that I have. I've got this. I've also got this case. This is from Casetify, and it's a more lightweight one. So if I'm using the iPad solely as a tablet, I might use this. And then I've got the second generation pencil. So just going through each of these, second generation pencil, I've got to say, like, it works really well, and it's designed to work with the iPad, so you would expect it to work well. The one thing that just really bugs me about this pencil is that you can't use the first generation pencil on later iPads, which I really just hate because it's Apple making you go out and buy something else. At first, I thought I found a hack to get my old Apple Pencil to connect to this iPad, and I just used this cable to connect the pencil to the iPad so it would connect, but it stopped working, so I did have to go out and buy this. The Apple Pencils are also very expensive. You can find fake ones on Amazon. My sister used one of the fake ones for a time, but they're not very good. So I do think it's a good investment to get the actual Apple Pencil, but it is frustrating because it's so expensive. Then this iPad case, Casetify very kindly sent me this iPad case, and it's very protective. Like, the Casetify cases are designed to be very protective. I love the design as well. It's like this watercolor one. It's the one I used to have on my phone. If you're planning on using your tablet in tablet form as opposed to laptop form, I would say that this is useful to have. You don't really want to bring your iPad out without a case. And then finally, the main thing is the Magic Keyboard. Having a keyboard for your iPad, I think, is really useful. That's what allows you to use it as a laptop, of course, and it just makes it so much more functional and so much more versatile. So getting a keyboard, some kind of Bluetooth keyboard, whatever kind that might be, I think is handy, though this itself isn't a necessary purchase. It's a beautiful piece of tech. I love it as an accessory. It's so smoothed, it's like really high quality, really durable. It's quite heavy, I will say. Like, it does quite considerably increase the weight of the iPad, but given how pleasant it then makes, like, the process of studying with the iPad, I wouldn't really count that as a massive con. Another thing which is potentially quite annoying is that you can't tilt it. Like, it doesn't have many tilt functions. It only tilts that far back, which isn't very much. All in all though, I'm so pleased that I bought this case, and if I hadn't bought this case, I don't think I would use the iPad as much as I do, and I don't think it would have replaced my laptop as my main device that I use when studying out of the house.
And then finally, here is a summary and some final thoughts on whether I would recommend the iPad.
So I much prefer using a laptop to using a tablet, but this case means that it operates like a laptop. It becomes a tablet and a laptop. I would say if you're choosing between an iPad and a tablet, I would say it's better than a laptop. Overall, if you are like an essay-based subject. The one big thing to keep in mind is that it is an iOS device. Sometimes different programs, like depending on the program, you might need certain software which you can't get on an iOS device. So that's something to really bear in mind when you're choosing between a laptop and an iOS device, especially if you study maybe a STEM subject. And there are definitely websites which are optimized to use on a laptop as opposed to an iOS device. The other tablet that I use and have is the Remarkable tablet, which is a paper-like tablet. It's designed to resemble writing on paper, and in terms of writing notes and writing on a tablet, I prefer that device. However, it's really not as functional as the iPad. If you're choosing a tablet and you're choosing between the iPad and the Remarkable, it really depends on what you're looking for in a tablet. This is a more versatile product, but the Remarkable is better for like handwriting notes, and it doesn't have as many features, but this can be a pro because it means that you've got minimal distractions. In terms of costing as well, because obviously an iPad is a big investment, I cannot recommend enough buying an iPad secondhand. Like honestly, anytime you're going to buy tech, buying secondhand, so long as they have a good returns policy and they give you a warranty, it feels like a no-brainer. So I bought this iPad, I can't remember exactly how much I saved, but I can find it and I'll put it on screen. But I bought this on blackmarket. Blackmarket is a website where you can buy secondhand devices, and they have a 30-day returns policy, which is obviously much better than if you're buying from a private seller. They refurbish the items before selling them as well. You can choose the condition, like whether it's excellent, very good, or good. And I bought both the iPad and also the keyboard from Blackmarket. This video isn't sponsored as well, but I just really would recommend Blackmarket, having used it, and now whenever I buy tech, I buy it from Blackmarket. So I'm hoping that this video was useful. I know it was a bit rambly. As you can tell, I do use it in quite like a pared back way. It's not like I'm using all of these extravagant and out there apps and kind of using it in super creative ways, but it's very functional and I rely on it a lot when studying in libraries, etc. So if you've been torn as to whether to get one, I hope that this video is in some ways useful. There are definitely drawbacks to using an iPad over a laptop, most notably the fact that web pages aren't normally optimized for iOS, but there are also so many great functions and uses from the iPad, and I really enjoy using it. So I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you again. I hope that you have more than just a productive week.